All right, welcome. We are going to graph a system, solve by substitution, and solve by elimination today. We have 4 examples. Go ahead and write down the first example. You can press pause, write it down, and draw yourself a graph. I did mine to 5 marks each on my axis. So go ahead, do this, press pause, and then come back, and we will go ahead and work the examples together. Remember, you can always pause throughout this video, rewind if you need to. If you need to, ask questions from me in the class or with your people that are beside you doing this same exact examples. All right, here we go. You should have you should have written down these 2 equations. In order to graph these, we need to solve for y. The first equation is, so we just need to solve for the second equation. We need to move this x over to the right-hand side. So I'm going to add 3x to both sides of the equal sign. All right, I'm left with 2y equals 3x plus 4. Those had canceled out. You're going to divide everything by 2 because we want to make sure y is by itself. Y equals 3 over 2x plus 2. We want to leave this as a fraction, and we want to simplify. 4 divided by 2 is 2. All right. Now that we have both solved for y, we want to make sure we graph them. We can graph them using y equals in our calculator. We can hit second and graph, and that will get us to our table. You can also graph them by hand. Remember, this is our y-intercept. We're going to come up here on the y-axis. From the origin, we're going to go up 3 and put our dot. From this point, we use our slope, which is 2. We're going to go up 2 and over 1. We can go back to our y-intercept, and we can go down 2 and over 1. And we can continue to go down 2 and over 1. Okay. Draw a line connecting. It's not going to be 100% perfect because we are not using graph paper, as long as you have that line and the slope's correct. Second equation, we start at the 2 on our y-intercept, so go up 2, put a dot, and our slope is up 3 over 2. You can go up 1, 2, 3, and over 2, and you can go down 1, 2, 3, and over 2. 1, 2, 3. Sorry guys, I counted wrong. It should be, this is 1. This is 2, and this is 3, and we should go over 2, and we should hit this point right here. So again, try your best to draw this line. It is okay if it's a little curvy. We have our intersection point. That is our solution. We have one solution. It is -2, -1. If you will write that down somewhere on your example. All right, so remember, you can rewind this if you forget. Our second example is solved by substitution. When we went over substitution, 6-2, all right, chapter 6-2, we wanted to make sure that either x or y was solved by itself. Our second equation is, remember that we want to substitute this entire expression where the x is on that first equation. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rewrite down here below. I'm going to say 3 parentheses. 2y minus 2, close my parentheses, and then I'm going to come back with this stuff that's in the first equation. So I'm going to have plus y equals 4. To make sure you're doing this right, you need y's in your equation. You don't want any more x's because you're taking the place of that x. We want to do distributive property. Make sure you do it for both terms. That's the #1 mistake. Multiply it out. You get 6y minus 6 plus y equals 4. If you need to, be sure you pause. You can write it down. Okay. The next step is to combine like terms. If you like to, circle your like terms or underline them. 6y plus y is 7y. Minus 6 equals 4. We're going to add our 6 because remember, we want to get y by itself. 7y equals 10. Then, after you finish writing that in, divide by 7. You can leave it as 10 over 7. You can write it as a decimal if you would like. I'm going to leave it as 10 over 7. There's nothing wrong with leaving it as a fraction. Okay. So, I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to plug this back into either one of these equations. It doesn't matter which one. This second equation might be easier to solve with. So x equals 2. And then I'm going to open up a parentheses because now this is where I plug in 10 over 7 minus 2. Your calculator can do this multiplication for you. If you go into alpha y equals and you enter that fraction, this will multiply it for you. You can also do it by hand. 2 times 10 divided by 7. So 2 times 10 is 20. 20 over 7. Okay. And then minus 2. Again, your calculator could do this for you. I know that 7 goes into 20 2 times, and there are 6 left over. If you wanted to change it to a mixed number, your calculator could do this for you as well. Subtracting 2, we get 6/7 as our answer. Now again, I don't have a calculator right now, so I'm going to do this by hand. You can easily put this into your calculator. I would put this into your calculator, or you can do this entire first line in your calculator, and it should give you 6/7. If it gives you a decimal, see if that decimal equals 6 divided by 7. It should. So if we were to write this as a coordinate, we would get 6/7, comma 10/7. And that is just fine to have as an answer. Okay, be sure you can pause, rewind, fast forward even if you know what you're doing. Make sure though that you have these examples done. Okay, solve by elimination. We have 2 different examples. This is what we did on Thursday and Friday of this past week. This is what you learned about yesterday with elimination. Okay, so first we're going to do addition and subtraction. We look at this number in front of our x and our y. We want to look for the one that has the same number. So this is a 2 and this has a 2. We have a positive, we have a negative. This is perfect, easy to just add our equations, and our y's will cancel themselves out. So I'm going to put an addition sign. Remember, this is a 1. We're going to have 1 plus 3. We get 4x. 4 plus 8, you get 12. And then go ahead and solve for x by dividing by 4. You should get that x equals 12. No, you shouldn't. Hopefully you did the division correctly. Alright, so fix that. It should be 3. Now go ahead and you're going to plug back into either one of these equations. It doesn't matter. I'm going to plug back into the top equation because I have 3 plus 2y equals 4. Okay, I'm going to subtract 3 to the other side. We want that y by itself. So 4 minus 3 gives you 1. You have to divide by the 2. That is attached to your y, and y equals 1/2. You could leave it as a decimal, you could leave it as a fraction. Okay, please write it as a coordinate 3, 1/2, or 3, 0.5. All right, our last example, just like what you learned yesterday, we are going to look for if the numbers are the same, because that will make it a little bit easier, but they're not. We need to multiply either this top equation or the bottom one. Sometimes you get to multiply both equations. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply this bottom equation by 2, because if I make this into a negative 2x, they will cancel, and I could solve for my y. So I'm going to put parentheses around my entire equation, and I'm going to solve by multiplying by 2. I'm going to rewrite this first equation just right below it. So I'm going to have 2x plus y equals 4. Now I'm going to do my multiplying. So 2 times negative x, negative 2x. 2 times 4 is 8y. And 2 times 10 gives me 20. If you need to, draw those arrows so that you remember to multiply each and every term. All right, so now I have my equations. It looks like this example over here. I can easily cancel out my x's, and I'm going to add my y's together. I get 9y equals 24. If I divide by 9, okay, I can leave that as it is. And that's what I'm going to do. 24 over 9. If you wanted to, you could figure out what it is as a mixed number. You could do it as a decimal. All right, so I'm going to plug this back into either equation. It doesn't matter. Maybe the top equation is a tiny bit easier. 2x plus 24 over 9 equals 4. I've got to subtract this. 24 over 9 minus 24 over 9. Those cancel. 2x equals, okay, 9 goes into 24, what, 3? Not 3, 2 times. So you would have, what, 2 and 6/9 left over. Okay. All right, so you have 1 and 3/9. If you subtract, please use a calculator or change it to a decimal. So if I have this left and I'm going to divide it by 2, I can put this easily back into a improper fraction. Remember, you multiply and then you add, so you get 12/9. Okay. So if I divide by 2, this whole thing by 2, because it doesn't matter if you leave it as a fraction or as a decimal, x equals 12/18. You can simplify that. You could write it as a decimal. Again, double check my math. Okay, I will double check my math. But we're going to leave it as that. Remember, we do want to write a coordinate. And that is our one solution. If I am perhaps a little bit wrong on this, I will show you tomorrow in class, or today when you're watching this. All right, y'all have a great time. Be sure you understand what you are doing for this elimination method. Some of you are really going to like this more than the substitution. Some of you will like substitution better. And a select few of you would rather graph it than do either one of these methods. Thank you.